Hey, it's time for another edition of Singles Only Podcast. Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week, we did a podcast via Zoom with the host of the Horny Housewife Podcast, Jordyn Hakes. Love this episode. Super fun. You can check it out on my YouTube page as well if you want to see it live and see what we look like when this podcast was recorded at youtube.com/PaulFComedy. If you want to see it live, if you want to see me live, you can see me at Coconuts in St. Petersburg, Florida, November 25th, 26th. And then I will be in Detroit at House of Comedy on December 7th. That's a Wednesday. Then I will be in Helium at Indianapolis, Sunday, December 18th. These are shows I'm headlining. They're off nights because I just started becoming a headliner. No big deal, but I need your support. So tell your friends about the shows so I can sell them out or sell tickets. Also being a part of the Parkinson's Foundation fundraiser on Sunday, December 11th at Rosemont Zanies, one of my favorite clubs. Also on that show is the hilarious Josh Sneed and Joe Antonacci, both hilarious comedians, both friends of mine. I organized this whole event, so I'm hoping to see you guys there at Rosemont. And that's it for the year. Hope to see you at a show. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. Please review us if you haven't. It makes a lot of difference when we have a lot of reviews. We're going into the new year. It's going to help a lot with my ratings. Check out our sponsors, eh? Have you been looking for a new addition for your fitness routine? Are you looking for one of the most exhilarating and effective forms of home fitness? If we're being honest, we could all use a little more motivation when it comes to working out, myself included, which is why I introduce you to Fight Camp. Fight Camp is an interactive at-home boxing workout. They bring the best workout in the world into your home and make it fun. You can explore thousands of workouts led by expert trainers with decades of experience teaching proper boxing form and technique. Fight Camp has live punch counting stats that motivate you by counting each punch through your workout and pushing you to meet goals each round. It's basically learning to fight. And if you're too much of a wuss to fight like myself, hey, learn some form while you're at it. That's all I say. It's one of the best things about this workout is it's fun, it's exhilarating, and you experience boxing from experts. You're going to have a good time. I guarantee it. So join the biggest boxing community in the world without leaving your home. Fight Camp packages start at only $99. They even offer some great financing options so you can get started for as low as $9 a month. To get everything you need, go to fightcamp.com/singles only to learn more. That's fightcamp.com/singles only. You're welcome. It's time for another edition of Singles Only Podcast. My name is Paul Farahvar. If you're listening to this episode on audio, you can actually watch this video on YouTube at my YouTube page, youtube.com/PaulFComedy. We are doing this podcast via Zoom. We have a very special guest from the Horny Housewife Podcast, Jordyn Hakes. There she is. Hey, Jordyn. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for doing the podcast.
Yeah.
So tell me about your podcast, or tell people about your podcast, The Horny Housewife.
My podcast is called The Horny Housewife. That's why I was surprised that you even wanted me on here because it's called the Singles Podcast. I'm like,
Right.
How does this even apply to me? But it's, I like the alliteration in the name. When people ask me about the name, I like, the two H's. It's kind of catchy. And I just feel like it accurately describes me and like what the show is about. So basically, I talk about the reality of sex and marriage, like the evolution, what that looks like, and talking about things that people, I guess, don't feel comfortable talking about or they lie about, and kind of trying to normalize it, I guess.
Right. And I want to talk to you more about that, especially, but I want to say one thing. When you Google Horny Housewives, you realize that
you got to add podcasts.
Yeah.
You got to. So you think I thought Google wanted to direct people to the first thing that wasn't porn first. That's what they said anyways. So I thought I was going to have like really good opportunity to be first when people Googled me, but no. So must add podcast.
Right. Okay. Well, I do want to, if people are Googling it, to just give them a heads up, especially if they're on a shared computer, because now I am spammed. But anyway, so
Yeah. So you talk about, so how long have you been married for?
I've been married for 5 years, so
Okay.
not that long.
Okay. So before you got married, were you a serial dater, or were you single for any long periods of time as an adult?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was single for long periods of time. And when I got in relationships, usually they were long term. I mean, were there guys that it was only a couple of months and it was like, this isn't really anything? But of course, but I was definitely single for like after each big relationship, I would give it a year-ish to be like a slut for a little bit, you know?
Okay. Yeah, but that makes you kind of a serial monogamist if you
Yeah.
continually go into long, like when you say long relationships, are you saying a
Over a
year?
year.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
how many year-long or more relationships did you have before you got married?
Only two. Only
Okay.
two. So he was my third.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
That
Could
makes
have had
sense.
a couple more maybe, but
And how did you meet your current husband?
he was my boss's boss. So he was the boss.
So you went straight up to
I was like,
HR. All
got
right.
to go to the top. Yeah. Sure.
That's
Eye on the
badass.
prize. Yes.
Okay. Now, you talked about sex and marriage and how people don't talk about things. As a marriage, you're 5 years into a marriage. Like, to me, I think marriage needs to be updated. It's an outdated institution. And some of that has to do with the stuff that you're saying, where people don't talk about things that need to be talked about, and they lie. Um, how do you feel about monogamy as a natural thing? Do you
I think
think
it's
that
kind
it's
of unnatural to be monogamous.
right?
And I think it's definitely a choice. And I think now people are more woke to the reality of like kind of being duped into marriage and like what people thought of that and how now I think people don't really care about putting a contract with relationships. I think people are more comfortable now just saying, "Hey, I don't ever want to get married," which is cool. Like I'm glad people aren't just getting married to get married because that's stupid.
Right. And I'm glad you said that you agree as a married person, because there's a book that, I don't know if you read the book Sex at Dawn. We talk about it on the podcast a lot, where they say monogamy isn't natural. So you're putting someone in a position where they're not comfortable, or they're not
Yeah.
supposed to be comfortable. So
Right.
how do you overcome that, and as making that a decision, or do you not make that a decision in your life?
I mean, I mean, we're both monogamous right now, but I think that we're both people that we know how people evolve over time. You get what I'm saying? And so we
Right.
don't know what we're going to be like in 10 years, but like we know we're comfortable enough to share those feelings with one another. And I
Wow.
think that you have to, and I know a lot of people don't have that and that sucks, but there have been people that I've talked to where like they were married for like 12 years and they didn't hate each other's guts. Like they worked on their marriage and now their kids are gone and they're best friends, but they're like, we don't want to just fuck each other at like the rest of the time.
Mhm.
So then they open their marriage. And I think when people like intentionally do things like that, it can be like really rewarding and awesome. But if someone's in like a shitty marriage and she just wants to like go fuck other guys because she's like a stupid bitch, you know, or I don't know, then that's different. That's different. So I think it's all about like what your intentions are.
And how do you bring that? You said that you guys are both open in your relationship to the idea of that later. Right now, you guys are obviously in a comfort zone. The honeymoon phase of a relationship, I would suppose, lasts about 7 years,
Right. Well,
they
we've been
say.
together for 8 years. I
Okay.
mean, I think it's definitely a choice. And I think you have to have a certain foundation to be able to even like do that. Does that make sense? Like,
Sure.
I think you have to have mastered a lot of other things. And I do think if like that's why people should consciously have children and not just like get pregnant because they think they're just supposed to make babies because you have kids to raise too. And like, I don't know. I think that's important too. I think
Yeah.
your a relationship is more your like husband or your partner is more important than your kids. Some people would disagree with me, but if you have like a miserable relationship in front of your kids, you're just fucking your kids up.
Yeah.
So,
And then a lot of people stay in marriages because they don't want to get divorced, and the trauma that it causes for kids. But you could still cause trauma
you're
to
still going
kids
to
staying
traumatize them.
together if
Yeah.
you should have been divorced a long time ago.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when you said that you guys you think that you're comfortable enough to bring it up to each other, be like, hey, I want to bring make things more exciting. You
Yeah.
guys have
Like if
talked
he
about
wanted,
this possibly
yeah.
happening in the future?
Well, just like if he, like, I want to know what he's into and then like what arouses him. And I think that like if you're in a certain safe space to explore that, and like some people maybe at a certain time they're not comfortable with that, but I don't know, I just think it's like give and take with people's needs. There are people that I talk to, especially in my podcast, where like someone wants something and it's a hard no for them, like a guy like wants his wife to shit on him and she's like, I'm
Mm,
not shitting on you, you know
yeah,
what I mean? And it's like I think you have to respect boundaries,
right.
but I mean, to each their own. I don't
Why
know.
can't they just fake it? Like she can just get like a
I don't
poop machine and then just like those like cookie dough things and then just push down from the back.
that's a good idea to suggest, but I mean, I don't
If
know.
she's on top of him and she can be in the front, like
It's a
reverse
control thing.
cowgirl. Yeah, yeah, I know.
It's not about the poop. It's about he wants to know that she will do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean I would never want that in a million years. But I understand everyone has their own kinks.
Mhm.
Um, what about the fact that I mean sometimes I think people just want something different,
Mhm.
you're in a relationship for 7 years or 10 years, you just want something different. And I've seen a lot of people have marriages crumble because they have a very attractive woman or attractive man, they're both attractive people, but the guy ends up hooking up with a really
Most guys
disgusting.
cheat. Most
What?
guys cheat. It seems like most guys cheat.
Most guys do cheat,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
you're right. But I think guys cheat physically, whereas
Yeah.
women cheat mentally. They have their
Yeah.
work
Or both.
husbands
Yeah.
where they're revealing, yeah, or both.
Yeah.
So I think it goes both ways. But what is that all about? I mean, how can you, without just opening up the relationship, are there other ways to you
I mean,
know
yeah. I mean, some couples go to like a strip club together to get because that's like erotic energy or whatever,
mhm,
or they have like you can look but you can't touch, or like some people are monogamish, like monogamish is a term where
right.
like,
Oh,
maybe
that's
on
a
his
good one.
birthday she gives him a threesome or something. You know what I mean? Like they
That's
do
a
things.
great term.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
I think that is more like realistic and like, I guess, socially acceptable. I don't know. And people can do whatever they want. But for some people, an open relationship just really wouldn't work for a person.
Mhm.
My husband at this point in the game would never, ever, ever, ever be okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, I
Really?
think I'm more adventurous than him. Like, he
Okay.
would, because he grew up, he had Mormon parents. I think that fucked him up or
Oh,
something. I
yeah.
shouldn't probably be saying that,
That's
but
all right. No, we
that there's religious trauma, and sometimes people, it's really deeply, deeply instilled in them that is wrong, wrong, wrong. You
mhm.
know,
What was your childhood upbringing?
I grew up in church, non-denominational, but not Mormon. Like I always thought LDS, like I always thought that was like kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
Where'd
at
you
the
grow up?
older in Texas.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, in Texas.
That's what the non-denominational churches are. Got it.
Oh yeah, like the mega churches, like text to
Right.
tithe, like
I dated a girl who was from Texas, and she took me to a non-denominational church, and it was like a big concert. So
it's like it's wild. It's
yeah,
wild. And the older I've gotten and the you know, away I've come from that. I don't know. The more you get, the more clarity you have of like, holy shit.
right.
Holy shit. But but the older I got, my parents kind of stopped going to church and it was more like they could find God wherever, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I got to go on my own journey. So I don't think that, I mean, it influenced me, but I
When
think
you
I'm
say
strong.
when you say you went on your own journey, did that also include like your sexual and relationships?
Oh yeah. I mean,
So
like I
what
went
were
on,
you like in high school? What were you like a
I was a
popular?
virgin till I was 17.
Okay,
So
that's
is that
normal.
old? Is that normal? Okay.
That's
Some girls
normal.
were
Yeah.
losing it at like 12 and
What?
I was not. No, I know.
That's not normal.
I mean,
16 to 18 is the average, I think,
okay.
for functioning society.
Right. And okay. So 17. And then like I probably didn't actually like explore what I liked as far as sex goes until I was like 19, until I got my first boyfriend.
Okay.
And then there was that. And he, of course, cheated on me, over and
Uh,
over and over and over and over.
this is in Texas.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you cheated, did you know he was cheating on you, or were you finding out and
Oh,
like
yeah. He
denying it?
cheated on me with a girl that had the same name as me, Jordan.
Okay,
And so that
that's
was
rare. It's not a very
Yeah,
popular name.
spelled the same way as well. With the Y.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But she didn't look the same, I assume.
She does porn now. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Or,
Under
I
the
mean,
name Jordyn?
I think it's like Jordyn Ryder with like a RYD. Yeah.
Well, we have her on the show tonight. Come on in, Jordyn. No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
funny.
No, that's funny. Which I guess she's hot. I get it. Whatever. But yeah, he fucked me up totally. That one fucked me up.
I think cheating. I thought that I was cheated on too when I was early 20s, and I thought that fucked me up. But then when I went to therapy, my therapist was like, "No, it's your childhood. That's what fucks you up." And I was like, "But
It's not
what?"
that.
I was like, "I feel like that's a big deal." He's like, "We'll get to that." And I'm like, "Well, we never got to it." But
That's funny.
yeah, I think cheating affects your trust
Uh,
significantly in relationships. But how did you overcome
I have
the
never overcome that. Yeah. I have never
you just think
overcome
your husband's cheating
it.
on you all the time?
No, I'm just cynical. That's why I'm like, if you ever like wanna open it up, we can. And he's like, you're crazy. You're just fucking like I don't know. I mean, he's gaslights me then after. I don't know. But yeah,
So you think
I
you're offering that up because you're afraid that he's going to eventually
it's
do
because I
it?
have issues. It's because I
Yeah.
have real issues.
I think that's normal. I mean, for me, I think it's health. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's normal. I think I just assume everyone that I've ever dated or will date is dating other people.
Yeah, because it just seems like because everyone does now. So it's like, why would they not choose to do that?
Hmm. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I guess
So
some people fall in love with just each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
What? So after the Jordyn incident, what happened after 19? How did you
Well, I took him
overcome that?
back over and over and over. And then
How
I
long
was
did
like,
you guys date for?
like 2 years,
Oh, that's a
maybe.
long time.
Okay.
Okay.
But then I was like, I need to move. And so I moved to Nashville
Hell
and
yeah.
I moved downtown. And then I found I liked cocaine a lot when I lived in Nashville.
Who
And then
didn't?
yeah, who didn't? But then I had to, after a year, I was like, I'm gonna die if I stay here. So
Yeah.
because bars were like open till 6 a.m. That's all I was like, I have to go out every single night. So I was like, I'm gonna die and wither away here, or I can go back to Texas. So I went back to Texas because I ran away. I went to get over the breakup,
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm gonna keep taking this guy back. So I went. I think he fucked all my friends after I left.
So wait,
I
it was a long distance relationship at that point?
no. We were dating in Texas, and then I left to Nashville to like run away from this
Oh, I got
relationship.
you. Okay.
And then I moved back. And then I met another guy in Texas, and then I dated him. I thought I was gonna marry him. And he was like a trust fund baby, and he had no work ethic. And he was like sociopathic a little bit at the end. So
What did he do that was sociopathic?
he just lied. He lied
Oh.
about everything I thought was real. Like he wasn't enrolled in the school that he told me he was enrolled in. He
Dear
didn't have the
God.
job title that he had. Like I just blindly trusted that like those were the things.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even real. It was really crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, I felt like I don't know. I'm not a dumb bitch. I'm actually not a dumb bitch. That was like a great, because we had moved. And so he was like, well, I'm going to transfer colleges because we had moved together to Portland, to where I'm in Washington now. We
Right.
moved to Portland. So 3 days later with the other guy, I met my now husband. You're like, this is fucked up.
Wait,
And
Portland isn't in Washington. I thought it
in
was
Oregon, but I'm
okay.
20 minutes from Portland.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So you moved there with this guy, the sociopath. How long were you dating him
He's a
for?
sociopath.
Allegedly.
A
So
couple years.
sociopathish. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, you meet your
I meet my
current.
husband, but I didn't like him. I didn't even look at him like that because I was with the other guy.
Okay.
I didn't even.
Well, he
wasn't
was
even
your
on my
boss's
radar.
boss.
Yeah, but I thought he was married with a kid because I knew he had a kid, so I just thought he was married.
Okay.
But he wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when he tells you his version of events when he met you, he liked you instantly, or was he like,
Oh
I didn't
no.
like-"
What didn't even
So you
see
both
you.
hated each other.
No,
Or not?
we didn't hate each other. He's like, I didn't see you. I don't fuck employees or like what I don't know. That's
Yeah,
what
you
he
don't
said.
shit where you work.
Something HR approved. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you meet him, and then eventually sparks fly, and now you're married to your
Yeah, well,
boss's
the
boss.
other guy and I broke up because I found out that stuff, and then he moves back to Texas. I stay in Portland, And then this guy, and I like pumped the brakes. I didn't date him for a while because I'm like, I just got out of a relationship.
Right.
So I like did my own thing. I dated other people. I got
In
on
Portland.
Tinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Portland. I got on Tinder. I had terrible experiences. And then I ended up dating my boss. And then HR was like, you can't, we
Your
found
boss or
out
your boss's boss?
my boss's boss, just the
Okay, I
boss.
didn't
Let's
think
just
you
call him
also.
the boss.
I know.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't go to the boss first and then the
No,
boss's boss. I was just
no,
making sure.
no,
Okay.
just one, just one. Yeah. And then they were like, you have to quit. We saw social media pictures that y'all were in Vegas together. So I had to quit my job and then I had to go work somewhere else. But basically, he like has been in my life since then. Yeah. And now we're married and have a baby.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you went on Tinder for a while and that was a
For a
nightmare.
little, yeah.
Tinder in Portland?
Tinder in Portland.
What was
And
that?
when I first got on, there was the guy that I knew in Texas that I cheated on my last boyfriend with, was like within a 0.2 mile radius.
Did you hit him
I know
swipe
he was
right?
there with another girl.
Oh, okay. And he was
Yeah.
on Tinder too? Great.
Yeah, I know. What is exactly?
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't want to hang out with me because he knew I'd like fuck that up or something. I don't know.
Right. Wait, you said this is one that you cheated on him
I
with?
know this is getting messy.
We didn't hear about this
We
guy.
didn't hear about. Yeah, no, the guy that I moved to Portland with, the guy I dated.
Oh,
after
right.
Yeah, I cheated on him,
Got it.
but he took me
So,
back.
There's a lot of cheating in this
Yeah.
episode.
A lot of cheating. Yeah. See, and
So-
monogamy is not natural. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So when you went on Tinder though, you said that there were nightmare dates in Portland. What made them bad? What made those dates bad?
People that they don't look like their picture.
Yeah, that's
or
okay.
or one guy, they're just gross. Or you go there and they're like, I'm sober. And I and I know that's horrible to say that.
Yeah.
But you're like, so
I've
I'm
drunk.
gonna just drink the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
That's hard for people too to deal with if you're not drinking the same levels, or like if you're not on the same drug.
Or I'm not comfortable. I don't know you. I
Yeah.
can be around now. I want my husband to not drink and just let me get drunk.
Right.
And just watch me. Yeah.
Well, that's because
But
you So then you meet your boss's boss. You quit your job because HR makes you, which is the right thing to do because you shouldn't be shitting and working at the
Yeah.
same place.
Yeah.
And now
Well,
you
they didn't
got
make me. They said break up, and I was like, I choose him, love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out. I mean,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
now, we'll see in
For
10
now.
years.
I always tell him, I'm like, you're my first husband. Yeah.
Well, right now it's harder to get a job, or it's harder to get a man than a job. So I feel like
Oh my God.
you made the right
I
decision.
don't envy single people. It sounds terrible.
Oh, I think the opposite. I think during
Okay.
Well, wait, were you guys married during COVID?
Of course. Oh yeah. Oh,
And
God,
in
yes.
Washington too, of all places, like that was COVID central. You guys locked down like nobody.
I hated it. I wanted to go back to Texas at that point just because.
Yeah, they didn't have rules. They didn't have COVID down in the
rules,
South.
yeah.
But I went to Florida. So when you during that period, if your marriage survived COVID, I feel like that
Yes.
2 years was like, especially in Seattle or
Truly.
Washington, that's like 10 years of a
You
real
made it.
marriage.
You
Yeah.
made it. Yeah.
You guys
can
will,
do anything.
right. So you're past even though it's been 8 years that you guys have been together, it's really like 20.
20, literally. That's how
Yeah.
it feels, literally.
Right.
And he started a business that and we got sued. So we went through a lot. Yeah. We went through
Okay.
hell in the last 2 years, but we're here. We're here.
Yeah. So on the podcast, you said do you have guests that what are the craziest things that you've heard
I don't have a
about?
lot of guests because I'm just like, delusionally. I think my solo podcasting is amazing.
Yeah.
I really do.
Okay.
And I like talking to myself better. I really get my message across better. But sometimes I have guests on, like a lot of the time I hate it. I fucking hate it. And I hate that episode. And I don't even listen to it.
Right.
But sometimes they come on because I'm like, I should give the people something else.
Right. So as far as your relationships, what are the things that you do, whether it's this relationship or I'm keeping it broad so you don't have to do, are there things that you do to keep things interesting that like you recommend? Do you guys watch porn together, for example?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nothing is like I don't think anything's super routine. I think that's what keeps it sexy is by not being super routine and autopilot. But I do think one thing that's changed from being single to being married is I used to think scheduling sex was really not sexy. And I was like, that's not like organic. And now I think it is really important and actually makes your sex life way better because if you plan that like erotic play date time, that's time for you to like learn more about each other's bodies, or one night it's all about him, or one night it's all about me, or it's just like, I don't know, you can be strategic and then learn more about one another's kinks and etc.
When you schedule sex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. When you know that you're setting this time aside, because if you have kids, you have to. That's why so many people cheat, because women will have babies and then be obsessed with their children and completely neglect their husband,
Hmm.
or, you know, people's lives take over. So you have to kind of plan it, or else your yard's going to die, kind of thing. You
Your
know what I'm
yard.
saying?
Yeah, I do get what you're saying. That's interesting. Um, when you say the not making it routine, like what do you mean in terms of what are the things that you do to keep it not routine? Because if you're
Just not doing the same thing every fucking time, or the same person shouldn't be initiating it all the time. Just trying to be intentional with like how you date each other and touch each other, or trying different things. And that's what the podcast is for, because we talk about all kinds of different things. And then that can inspire couples to be like, oh, we've never tried erotic spanking, or I have guests talk about stuff that even I don't want to try or haven't tried, but they do want to try.
right,
So we just talk about everything.
does your husband listen to your podcast?
He does not listen to my
Okay.
podcast.
And that's
Yeah.
probably a good thing, right? I would
And I guess
assume.
he's very supportive. He's very, and
Right.
I love him for that. But he's
Maybe
like,
he
I
shouldn't
hear you
listen.
talk all the time. I don't need to hear you talk again for an hour. And he's like, what are you gonna do? Put it on the car and I can hear you talk all the time.
Right, right.
So I understand, because I am annoying.
No, I think it's just like sometimes if I'm dating someone, I'm like, yeah, don't listen to this week's podcast because they'll be
Yeah.
like, wait, are you talking? Like I would think that
Yeah.
if your husband, he's probably the subject of every episode if you're
Well, I
alone.
know I never ever I really actually keep our relationship pretty private.
Okay.
Honestly, often I talk about sex and like
Well, then tell him
maybe
not to listen to this episode, I suppose.
yeah, no,
Because
no,
we
probably
were
no, yeah. But no, he wouldn't care. I don't think he likes hearing the stories when I talk about other sexual stories with people. He doesn't really want to hear those.
Mhm.
And I'm like, which is, some guys love hearing stories like that. There are like lots of guys that are cucks that like want to hear about their girl getting fucked. And my husband is not one of them.
He doesn't want to hear about your your
Like he
prior
doesn't like
relationships.
hearing about other, and then like I'll ask him his. He's like, "Why do you want to know this?"
Right.
I'm like, just tell me.
I think that if there's been a significant amount of time since that's happened, I think it
Yeah.
doesn't bother me if I hear about exes,
Yeah.
especially if they like dated someone famous. I'm like, wait, so you dated,
Oh
whatever.
yeah, that's interesting.
Did you ever have a famous person that ended up being
No,
famous or a
I
porn star?
no, but I hooked up with Gavin DeGraw's brother. Please don't put that. Can we bleep that name out? Can you bleep that name out, please?
Sure, I could try.
You're like, no, bitch, I'm not.
If you just,
I don't think Gavin DeGraw or his brother.
I know Gavin. Ironically, I don't know his brother.
Okay, well, his
But
brother lived in like
he's a musician too.
in Nashville, right? It was
Yeah.
all that Nashville time, and it was just like a drug induced. I'm sure.
Well,
Like went to
I-
Morton's Steakhouse, and like it was kind of gross and weird.
if we're talking about the same brother, I think I know other people that hooked up with him, so I don't think
I
it
know
matters.
lots of people that hooked up with him.
Yeah,
Multiple
he's a
girls.
musician too, right? His brother.
Yeah, I get. Oh, of course. And I think he was like bitter, like the bitter brother that didn't make it. Like
Well,
and he had like a big white band.
he has a license.
Yeah.
Now we're getting specific, and he lives
Yeah,
on
don't do
this
that.
street. Oh well, no, I don't. I think it's fine. He's
Okay.
it's not Tim McGraw. No, I'm just kidding. That's a
I bet
different.
if you put me in a lineup, he would literally have no idea who. Like maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
I met. I used to be in the music industry, and I met Gavin once at the Metro in Chicago, and we had a push-up contest, and then he beat me. That's all I remember
I
about the
like
night.
his music, but I'm
Gavin's
not
great.
like attracted to him.
Yeah, no, he's super talented, I think, and he's in great shape. At that time, my body was a wonderland, and he still beat me in a push-up contest. Also, I was drunk all day, but that's a whole other story. When speaking of lineups, if you put all the guys that you dated in a lineup, do they have
Dated or been intimate with?
Okay, tell me
the dated that many guys. That's a big difference, I feel like.
You're saying hookups versus okay, let's talk about first say hookups. If you line them all up, do they all look the same or have one quality that like and exclude the hookups that were like randoms on a Coke binge or a drinking thing, but like
I don't
things
do that
that
anymore. Yeah.
Right. I'm saying in the last 10 years, do they all have like it has to be more than 10 years because you've been with this guy for 8.
It's evolved. They're all different.
Did you have a type?
I mean, I feel like I have a type that I'm attracted to. Like, I feel like, yeah, but no, I don't.
What was that type at that time?
When I was young, I like a completely different guy now. I liked, oops, my necklace just fell off. The like emo boys with like the skin and they like sang at the rocker shows and like I would be like sitting in the corner, I don't even know what they're saying, and they were so stupid. They were like little bitches is what they were. And my first boyfriend straightened his hair, like he would blow dry and straighten his hair and wear girl pants, and I just thought they were like so romantic because they were so romantic. And my dad was like, they're romantic because that's the only thing they have to offer because they're broke. And he was right, because then I think I'm more attracted to like white collar men that have money, because I think that
that are driven,
driven, because that's sexy, because I want to be feminine and I want someone who's masculine and I want to feel provided for and safe. And if all men are shit, you might as well have one that can buy you a lot of things to fill that hole. Yeah.
I like that. That's a very good analogy. And I think that's a good place to end. Where can Jordyn, thank you so much for doing this podcast. First of all, where can people find you, find out more about you and your podcast? Where do you specifically like to send them to?
You can go to my website, thehornyhousewifepodcast.com. You can find my social media, find the podcast, find the Patreon, or my Instagram is @_thehornyhousewifepodcast. And then the link in my bio will get you everywhere and beyond.
And how long have you had the podcast for?
It'll be 2 years in January.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jordyn,
really nicely.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot to offer to people. That's why I put you on the podcast, even though I knew you weren't single. I think you can, and I'd like to hear what happens if you guys do need a contract to change your relationship requirements. I was a lawyer for a while. I can help you with that. And thank you so much again, Jordyn, for coming on. And thank you all for listening to another edition of Singles Only Podcast.
Okay, I know it's all fun and games. My Better Call Paul spiels on stage, or my shirts that say Better Call Paul. Donating a lot of the money for charity, by the way. PaulFcomedy.com. You can get your shirt, as always. But here's the thing. If you actually need a lawyer, you have to get professional help. So if you're injured on the job, you don't know what kind of compensation you're entitled to, or you're injured in a car accident. Don't handle something on your own, and don't call some random person that you see in commercials on daytime TV. Call someone that really knows what they're doing, someone that's helped workers who are injured for over 20 years in Chicago and beyond. My good friend, attorney Scott Shapiro. He is your man. Give him a call. Here's the thing. He also handles entertainment law, whether you're a comedian, a musician, a podcaster, a wrestler, an actor, anything. He's handled all these things for 20 years here in Chicago. He is your guy. Give him a call, 312-627-1650, or email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. All consultations initially free of charge. Your first consultation is free. You have nothing to lose. Don't take any chances. Call my friend Scott Shapiro, 312-627-1650, scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome.
But I'm still standing.